Good evening, everyone. This is John Rollins, and it is Wednesday, and it's time for our weekly Strive session. Strive, strategies to remain informed, victorious, and empowered. I trust that you've had a good week. I trust that you are still able to find some dry ground out there with all the rain that we've been having. I'm grateful that we are getting what we need to water the earth, to replenish the earth. And I'm thankful that the rain is representative of the Word of God. God says that just like the rains come down, the snow comes down, it doesn't return to Him without accomplishing what He set it out to do. And so the rain is not a bad thing for me. It tells me that there's some good things that are on the horizon for us. And so I hope that you're living your life with expectation, that you're looking for the good that's available to us who are here on this earth. So, well, again, strive, strategies to remain informed, victorious, and empowered. And our topic, our thought for this evening is, now that I have your attention. All right? And so, and I have several things that came to mind when I was thinking of this, but one of them, of course, was, you think about the people who they lock in on some things and they tend to ignore other things. And I don't know if this is not intended to be stereotypical, but it could be. But I know that there are some people who, when they focus in on their football games or they focus on their video games, they block out everything else. And other people may be coming by trying to get their attention. They'll call their names and they'll do things and they have trouble grabbing that person's attention until they do something drastic. And then the person, they come out of their comatose state, their shocky state. What'd you do that for? Okay, well, now that I have your attention, or you may have somebody else who may be vying for attention, and they may be what we call they're making those pleas for help. They're calling out, they're behaving a certain way, they're trying to get the person's attention, but whatever they're doing, it doesn't seem to be working. So all of a sudden they'll do something that is out of the norm for them, and it's kind of like a shock to the individual, and the person says, their attention now is directed toward them. The person says, well, all I was trying to do was get your attention. Okay, so the thing here is, now that I have your attention, and I think the question is, so what do people have to do? One, what do people have to do to get our attention? Or what do people do to get our attention? I know there are times, I remember a story when I was younger. My mom was telling me that she told us that she was with some of her friends, had the next door neighbor, and she was talking with her friends, and I don't know if they were in prayer meeting or what. I don't know what was going on, but the children were at the house, and my oldest brother CJ, he went over to my mom and he was trying to get her attention. And if you remember how we were raised, it says, children are meant to be seen and not heard, and you don't talk unless somebody's talking to you, and those types of things. Well, he was trying to get my mom's attention, and he tried, and for whatever reason, she wasn't giving him her attention right then. Eventually she did. And when she did, she told him, Mama, there's a fire. There's a fire in the bathroom. Okay, so he got her attention then. And they ran home and they put the fire out and all that stuff. Okay, but what are some other things that people have to do to get our attention? Maybe you have a person who is someone that we made a deal with, have a contract with them, and they send you notices in the mail, and maybe you ignore that notice, and you ignore the notice, and you ignore the notice, and then all of a sudden you get the thing where they say, okay, now that I have your attention, they do something, okay, and I'll let you all interpret how you want to. Okay, I know some people they don't give their attention until it's time for when they see the wrecker. The wrecker is backed up to the to the house, and the car is on the tow truck, and then now they have their attention. Okay, they come home and maybe the lights are off. Now they have their attention. So what do people have to do to get our attention? Because a lot of times, and I understand, there's so many messages that's going on, and it's easy for us to block out all that stuff because it's just noise for a lot of people. Okay, it's not necessarily relevant. It doesn't have any priority in many cases at certain levels based on what's going on. And so we ignore a lot of stuff. Okay, but every now and then, someone or something catches our attention. I remember hearing someone say once that there are a lot of things that capture my attention, but there are very few things that capture my heart. And what I know is that if we have a heart for certain things, we tend to give attention to those things that are important to us. But the things that are not necessarily important to us, that may be important to someone else, we may not give the same amount of attention, or we may not give any attention at all until we're pressed to do so. Okay, but every now and then something happens to us or around us that captures our attention. I tell you, I'm the kind of person who I try to watch what's going on, because I don't like surprises. I don't like surprises, and I think the reason for that is I always try to stay prepared for almost, in my mind, I try to brace myself for almost any type of outcomes. And so, because I'm always trying to anticipate potential outcomes, I'm always looking at things, it's not often that I like to be surprised. I want to know, one, what's happening so I can prepare a plan to get out of it. Okay, but so every now and then we just walk around and stuff may happen and it'll grab our attention. And so what does it take to grab our attention? See, now where are we going with this? How does this have anything to do with the Strive session? Well, this is what I'm talking about. There's some stuff that's going on in our lives right now, and I say I'm speaking to you and I'm speaking to myself. But there are some things that are going on right now that are trying to get our attention. All right? Maybe it's a health situation. Maybe there's something that's happening in our bodies right now that we may not be giving attention to, and then later on it's going to come up and it's going to impact us in a way that maybe we weren't prepared. We look around at what's happening in society, and there's some stuff that's going on in our society, in our nation, in our different cultures, and they're trying to grab our attention, and we may be just living our lives without giving regard to what's going on, without paying attention to the signs, and all of a sudden stuff is going to happen, and then you're going to say, well, where did that come from? I never saw it. And all along, the things that were going on to try to capture our attention, but we were ignoring them. So one of the things that I wanted to point out was, what do people have to do to grab our attention? But here's the question. Okay, what does God have to do to grab your attention? All right. So now you think about it. There are several situations in the scriptures where people were going about, and not necessarily doing something bad, but they were just going about doing what they do, and then all of a sudden God came along and he did something to grab their attention. Now there were some people who were doing some stuff they had no business doing, and I'm not here to make a statement of judgment or whatever. Look, if you do you, okay, but make sure that what you're doing, God doesn't have to come along and grab your attention. All right, so I have some examples here. This was from a book, Max Lucado, and he gave some examples. His book is called Grace for the Moment. But he said, okay, what if he have to move you to another country to get your attention? And again, now that we're talking about Abram at the time, Abram wasn't doing anything wrong. He was in a situation where it wasn't healthy for him. Okay, and so God had to move him to an entirely different country to get his attention. But Abraham obeyed, and as a result of Abraham obeying, Abraham was considered the father of the nations, the father of faith, the father of righteousness. Okay, but God had to get his attention. Another example he gave, he says, what if God calls you out of retirement? You've already spent your life living your life, and you figure that now you're ready to sit back and relax, and God calls you out of retirement because he has a greater purpose for you. Okay, that's what happened with Moses. Moses had spent his time studying to become ready for the children, the leader of the Egyptians, ended up running away from that situation, spending 40 years tending the sheep. And God said, okay, well, Moses, now I think that you're ready. I want to use you for a specific purpose. Okay, what if God calls you out of retirement? Are you prepared to do so? And that's what he uses to get your attention. What about you have the now? I hope none of us have to experience this. Okay, but what if you were called into the bowels of the fish? Okay, almost like a death situation for 3 days, and that's what God has to do because we have been disobedient to what He's called us to do. Now, He's given us an assignment. The instructions were clear, but we chose to run away from that call, those instructions, that mission that He's placed on our lives. That's what He had to do with Jonah. And He had to actually, I mean, when I say take Jonah through the storm, put Jonah in almost a death situation, just so that he could get it. Hey, look, I'm not playing with you, man. I told you this is something I want you to do. And you can do, I remember we said it last time, you can do it the easy way or you can do it the hard way. Jonah chose the hard way. And until he got spit back up on the shore. And he took the easy way then. Okay, but what if God has to put us in a situation where we have a near-death experience to get our attention? All right, you have a situation where He calls you and you don't feel that you're worthy, and so you test God, and God performs the test for you, like He did with Gideon. Gideon tested him, says, "I want you to keep the fleece dry and let the ground be wet." God did it. He said, "I want you to keep the fleece wet, let the ground be dry." God did it. Okay, but God did that. He sent an angel to Gideon to say, "Gideon, I want to use you to go and bring freedom to my people." Okay, so what if God has to give you a sign that only God can give, that could have not come from anyone else? Okay, I don't think I've ever shared this on this Thrive session. Okay, but there was a time, this was maybe 3 months ago, a couple of months ago, we had some rain in my yard, and I may have shared this. I don't know if I shared it before and you hear it again. Just pretend like you never heard it before. Okay, but out in my front yard, and I live in an area where there is no lake, there is no river, there is no pond. Okay, and I've been here for about 20 plus years, a little over 20 years. And one day I'm driving out of going to run an errand, and it rained a little bit that day. And I looked to my left in the ditch in front of my yard, and I saw a fish. Okay, again, I don't live by a lake, I don't live by a river, I don't live by a pond. Okay, but in my driveway, coming out of my driveway, I saw a fish. Okay, and for me, that was a sign. That was God's way of saying, "All right, John, so there's a lot of things that you've been running after. Okay, but now I'm going to bring to you the things that you used to have to chase after. You have to go and find them. I'm going to bring it to you, and I'm going to tell you." And I say this because I just want to be real with you all. Okay, as a result of Him getting my attention, and I tell you now, every now and then not every now and then, I still drive out and I look to see if there's another fish. I'd never seen it before, haven't seen it since. Okay, but there have been a lot of opportunities that have come our way as a result of God getting my attention with that specific incident. Okay, what if He has to give you a supernatural sign to get your attention? What if He has to either give you a promotion, like He did with David? He made David and Daniel, He made them the leaders of the nation. Or what if He has to give you a demotion? Maybe you start thinking that it was all about you and your giftings and your abilities, and you started setting aside or abandoning His ways. That's what happened with Samson. Samson had supernatural abilities, supernatural strength. He was really gifted. And maybe he took it for granted and started relying more on what he thought was his abilities than he was on the Spirit of God that was operating in him. And God demoted him. Okay? So what does God have to do to get your attention? Because he wants your attention. He wants your attention to be continually directed toward Him. He wants my attention to be continually directed toward Him. But if we don't do it, every now and then He may have to do something to get our attention. And I believe that we will probably want to comply and then commit without Him having to do something drastic, like some of the examples that we just gave, to get our attention. All right. Now that I have your attention, okay, we want to be continually directing our attention to the Lord, so that we can hear Him, we can obey Him, we can move with Him, and then we can receive the promises that are given to us as children of the Most High God. Hey, this is John with the Thrive Session. strategies to remain informed, strategies to remain victorious, strategies to remain empowered. Give your attention to God so that He doesn't have to come and grab it. All right. Hey, and then we end the way that we love to end. If you've not had someone to come to you this week to affirm your greatness, to remind you of just how awesome you are, to let you know that if you were not around, their world would not be the same. Okay, I will welcome the opportunity to remind you that today, tomorrow, and forever, okay, you are important. And don't you ever forget it, all right? All right, y'all be blessed. All right, bye.